Welcome back for another video. I'm Eharbad, a free-to-play player in Raid Shadow Legends. We are in episode 12 of the challenge account, and first and foremost, I have to have a little moment to thank the 3 people doing these referral accounts. They're continuing to grind and get towards that level 50, which will give me those sacred shards that will hopefully be the difference. Not in this upcoming fusion, because I don't think we'll be going for the actual fusion. Our intention will be to pick up some of the epics, so fingers crossed they'll be good. But maybe in the fusion after this one, those sacreds could be the difference between succeeding or not. Right then, at the moment I am farming a dragon. So we have a dragon tournament going on, and I've been doing the champion training as well. I had 500 energy for the login this morning, and we've been given 400 energy as compensation. With that additional 400, I think I'll very comfortably get both of these, this tournament and this event finished. I'm only going to go as far as the epic tome in the champion training, and I'm about 300 points shy of it, which I will do tomorrow morning after reset, before the Dungeon Divers finishes. I'm sure there'll be some campaign-based quests to do, so I'm going to leave getting those final few points until tomorrow. And with the rest of the energy today, I will be in Dragon 16. So far, this team has not failed. It doesn't do it very elegantly, but it does get it done. I'll let this run play out, and I kind of talk you through the way it works, and then we'll jump into the photos, catch up over the last 3 days or 4 days. I can't even keep track anymore of what's going on. But essentially, we have 2 level 40s here in War Maiden and Diabolist. We do have an AI preset. We're using Miscreated for protection, and then because we don't have any poisons, we're relying on a combination of our 2 level 60 damage dealers, both in lifesteal, with the Brimstone from Rhonda, and those multi-hits with Giant Slayer. Hopefully we will land the occasional weaken. That does definitely increase our damage, because otherwise we do hit pretty weak, because we don't have drop defense, and actually the dragon is pretty tanky. So because we don't currently have the poisons, we didn't start with Kale, we're kind of relying a little bit on the Brimstone here. We are able to take some of the stuns as long as we can do roughly about 50% of the damage on the purple bar. We will take the Scorch, but it won't actually kill us. Occasionally Miscreated will die, but the other 2 between them so far have never failed. I have run it now about 25 to 30 times, so it's going okay. I don't think it will be perfectly 100%, because there's a little bit too much on the edge, shall we say. It's reliant slightly on getting those procs on Brimstone, and on getting enough healing from the lifesteal that we're able to keep ourselves alive. In any case, I'll keep running it. If it does fail, I'll update you in the next video, but so far it's just about working. Right then, on to the photos. So first up, we are now, today is the 6th of February, and we're going back to the 3rd of February, where I managed to do Night Revenant Stage 7, which was my 4th faction war boss that I have killed since the inception of the account. I don't have maybe as many stars as I might have had if I'd, say, invested in more champions and geared them out, and kind of just spread my resources a little bit more in terms of picking up those stars. But I'm quite happy that I've managed to, at least so far, beat 4 faction war bosses. So that's at least something. Having beaten the faction war boss, I did manage to clear stage 8 as well. I wanted to include this one here, this floor 49. It was really hard, and you can see 7 minutes, 13 seconds, 130 turns. This was hard. I'm pretty sure I also only had 1 champion alive right at the end. So it was a pretty clutch win, but it was really hard. And I think if there's time in this video, I might try and do a Doom Tower wave floored, so you can see roughly the strategy that I'm doing. It's not perfectly consistent, but we're not expending any resources. So it's one of those things we can afford for our composition not to be 100% on each turn. We're just going to have to keep running it until we get the good RNG. And I included this one because we picked up the Epic book, which is nice, and we're now only 100 advanced quests away from picking up a legendary book as well. The advanced quests really do give us a lot of resources on a daily basis, and those milestone rewards, they are really strong, and I really recommend if you can get them done each day, it's definitely worth it. This was massive. Celestial Griffin 50 done. This allows us to start to pick up some epic materials from the Doom Tower to start to be able to forge between 4 and 5-star gear. And really, it's only the 5-star gear and above that's going to be impactful in the long run. Obviously, eventually we want to be getting 6-star gear, but you really can do pretty much everything in the game with 5-star gear. It is underrated, I would say. There's a general perception that 5-star is trash in the long run, and eventually you should get to the point where you just sell it all without looking at it. But if I think of my own account, my kind of end game account, I still have 5-star gear equipped on people, and I still use quite a lot of 6-star rare gear. So definitely shouldn't be underrated and undervalued. As well, the 300 energy came in really nice. This was back when the Spider tournament was still ongoing, so that 300 energy went straight into Spider's den. I did pick up this. It was pretty cheap in the shop. Speed and HP percent on a accuracy set helm. I felt like this could be pretty useful in potentially like a faction war champion or something like that. I thought I don't have a lot of gear at the moment, and it's not a bad piece just to have on the account. It's a small silver outlay. Even if it never gets used, at least it's there as an option. Next up, I managed to beat another stage on Sacred Order, stage 11. And this really is a pure Aethel solo farm. I don't have anyone that's going to give him any support here. If I had started with Deacon, I think really could push on quite a lot on the Sacred Order with the duo of Deacon and Aethel. But by himself, he does begin to struggle as we get further. But I did manage to beat also stage 12 and stage 13. But I just can't solo the boss. I have tried a number of times, but stage 14 is just that little bit too hard at the moment. So as a result, I just stayed on stage 13 and farmed out the rest of my keys for those highly valuable materials. What is nice about stage 13 is that's the first stage where we start to get legendary forged materials, which will enable us to start crafting 5 to 6-star gear. So if I can get more of the faction wars towards stage 13 plus, that will really put me in good stead in terms of being able to get that real high-end gear that we need to be able to beat, hard Doom Tower and places like that. And then, I managed to get another ancient shard from the shop. I think I pretty much must have got all of the ancient shards on offer for the month by now. Really front-loaded them in the first few days. But that's because I've been checking the shop a lot to see, mystery shards, some of the cheaper uncommons I sometimes pick up as well, and been looking for potential pieces of gear because we don't have a lot of gear at the moment, and a good 5-star piece will definitely be an improvement to our account. Speaking of which, I actually bought this as well. HP percent main with a speed substat could be very useful for a faction war champion in the future, and for now, to be honest, I don't have many pieces like this, and it will find a home very quickly. Managed to get a new PB on the hard clan boss. This is against the Spirit Affinity, and it would have been a 1 key, so just managed to get over that threshold. As I've said before, I think if we do get War Master, if we get the T6 on Miscreated, that will make it a comfortable 1 key on hard. Equally, if we level up Frozen Banshee to 60 and get War Master on her, that will enable us to really ramp up the damage quite quickly, and that will probably be required if we want to get to the point where we're able to, say, 2-key Brutal. Another Doom Tower floor that I included here just because it was so hard. Floor 57, it really was so hard. But I ran it over and over again and eventually managed to get it cleared. It was, I believe it was the one that had, like Tormins and Mortu, etc. And oh, it was hard. Following that success, I was able to clear Magma 60 yesterday. And this was a really nice milestone, I felt like, for my account anyway. Like, I was really pleased to have been able to do it. I think Fatal Gear will be the one that I want to farm for the rest of this rotation. And at least Magma floor 60, I can farm it on auto. Pretty consistent. So far, it's won about 95% of the time. We're able to keep farming those materials and eventually, hopefully, we'll craft some good pieces. I opted for it instead of Guardian, mostly because it's a two-piece set and I felt had a better chance of actually getting usable pieces or usable offset than I would with the four-piece Guardian. I then needed to do some Fire Knight for one of the missions, so we cleared stage 11, 12, and that was where we finished because I only needed to win a total of 5 artifacts, and I had to look at my roster and the affinity for 13 and decided now was not the time to try and do it, but I do have an idea on how I'm going to clear it for an auto clear, which I will probably do during the fusion when we have the Fire Knight tournament. I then continued to progress on the missions. I ascended Armiger to 5-star, so we got that next Ascender Champion mission done. My dream was shattered as the challenge account got an awful champion training. So I'd been kind of holding back, waiting for the next champion training event. I'd been watching that we were going to get it, and I was like, this is the one. This is going to have the legendary tome. And it does. On my main account, there's a legendary tome. It goes to 9,000 points, and there's a legendary tome there. But on the challenge account, it caps out at 6,000, and it's a 5-star legendary chaos. Or I mean, I don't get it. Like, fine, give us lower points, but give us the same rewards. Or if you're going to give us lesser points and lesser rewards, why a 5-star legendary chaos? Or that's just not helpful for anyone. Like, this is not what we want. And to be honest, we really need those legendary books and those good resources, as an early game account. And champion trading is one of the few actual events that we can actually do and not really be at a competitive disadvantage versus the established accounts. So it's kind of disappointing that there isn't that legendary book there. But it does mean that ultimately I'm going to put 5,200 points into the champion training and be able to do the Dragon tournament with the 2x chance to get speed gear as well. So at least I don't have to make a choice to skip the Dragon. I can do both. We then managed to get to the point of fusing Justicia. And for those who remember, we had planned for this moment. We had been farming all of those campaign rares to make sure we were at a point where we would be able to fuse Justicia as soon as we actually got there. Yes, again, we could have gone a lot quicker if we'd gone out of our way in that first week, if we'd had more time to grind the game. I mean, that's, to be honest, one of the biggest limiters I've found so far with this challenge account is just simply actually having enough time each day to do all the work required. So we've done it in a way where we're trying to be efficient with the time we have to play the game, as well as the resources within the game. Anyway, Justicia fused, age 2 done, and now we're on to part 3, where we also managed to get a couple of stages further along, and then jumped into the tag team arena bazaar and picked up the energy. I had enough gold bars at this point where I knew I'd be able to get my fragment of Drexar the next day when it reset and be able to use the energy refill. I opted to do it over the weekend as well because I felt that would be most likely a time where I'm reasonably able to consistently use the additional 300 energy. So I want that reset to coincide with a day where I'm most likely going to be able to actually use it. Here we can see a bit of magma dragon farming, 14 keys used, 7 wins, and we're picking up those critical forge materials. Managed to finish another bit of the missions, which I did by farming Ice Golem Peak 13 on auto, and it was pretty consistent. But I did try and push on a little bit further, and that wasn't going to happen, basically. Again, not really having a reliable poisoner really makes Ice Golem quite a challenge. Managed to get the superior arcane potion. I was farming Arcane Keep 15, as you can see here. Eventually we managed to get it, and we actually got 3 when it finally dropped. We got 3. I think it took about 200 energy to get it done, so it could have been a lot worse. It wasn't too bad. I think if all of them can be anything between, sort of 100 to 200 energy, I'll be reasonably content with that. As the Dragon Tournament begun, I did go improve my Dragon score from 13 to 14 to 15, and then finally to 16, which, as I showed at the beginning of the video, is where we're currently farming. And this is where we've got to on the mission progress. Haven't been able to do this mission yet. Much like last week, we've got to wait until Wednesday to do this. Then we should have a reasonably clear run until the Thursday, where we need to do the exact same mission again, but in the Spirit Keep, and then again in the Force Keep on Friday, and again on Sunday in the Void Keep. So I'm going to try and balance doing all of those progress missions this week, plus also doing the fusion when it begins. So that's going to be take a little bit of micromanagement, but it should be okay. Managed to get stage 9 on a comfortable farm for Night Revenant with the Miscreated Monster solo farming. I did try and do stage 10 a number of times, but in the final wave we have 2 Thenasil and 3 Tyrell, and my Miscreated's current build with the power he currently has just can't solo it. Like, I tried maybe a dozen times, and I got really, really close at one point, but I just wasn't able to get it done. Kicked on a little bit in the Doom Tower, cleared stage 64, which was another quite tricky one, but we got 2 4-star speed glyphs, which is pretty nice actually. If you consider really how far we are developed on the faction war side, being able to pick up these kind of materials from Doom Tower I think is really, really impactful. I managed to, before the summon rush ended, I managed to get the 50 gems. That was all from pulling mystery shards, which I needed to do in terms of doing the champion training, so we were kind of being efficient there, balancing our champion training that we needed to get done, the mystery shards that we needed to get the champions to train, and then also getting a little gem return there, 50 back into our pocket. Pretty good. If it had been one of those legendary tome champion trainings where I would have had to have done even more champion training, I'm pretty sure I'd have gone and got that 100 energy at 330 mystery shards. But it wasn't, so I was content enough to get the 150. I then, now that we've done Justicia, was having an eye on Relic Keeper, because that's going to be the next fusion we need to do. So I spent pretty much all of my energy yesterday that I was farming champion training. I was doing that in Act 11, pick up a copy of Executioner. And in fact, I stayed there until I had 2 copies, one that I can use for the fusion, and the other that I can reserve for a future secret room / potentially faction war champion. I think Executioner will be quite a good champion to pair with my Miscreated. Being able to drop back their turn meter and put decreased speed on them, paired with the stun from Miscreated, I think will really help me control the waves even more. And it could actually be the difference between me being able to beat that stage 10 third wave and not. Even just an Executioner at, say, the one that I'm going to ultimately fuse needs to be a 4-star 40 fully ascended. So I think I'm going to rank up that Executioner to 4-star 40 quite quickly and try and use him to clear that faction war stage 10 before we ultimately fuse him away to Relic Keeper. And then today, pulling a few more mystery shards just because I was doing the champion training, managed to get a copy of Sentinel, who is actually another really good rare. Could be very useful for Magma Dragon. Also very good for long dated future secret room plans in terms of force HP and rare HP. So again, we're just going to keep collecting these good rares that we get. Pretty good for faction wars as well. Really high chance provoke on the A1 and a small decrease attack with heal reduction on the A2. So I think there are places we can find use for Sentinel. And then we've got 2 more images to go through. Shadowkin Crypt is open today, and I basically ascended Chinoru to unlock the A3 and managed to get us up to stage 5. I then did just drop down to stage 3 for easy farm, use the rest of the keys there, because stage 4 and 5, they just weren't that consistent. She's really badly geared. Right, and that is us caught up. So what can I say? Well, we did actually lose 1 dragon whilst we were recording and going through those photos. So I guess we're now about 30 wins, 1 loss. So it's definitely not 100%. And that's, I mean, let's be honest, it is what I said. I didn't think it'd actually be 100%. But it's close enough. I don't think we're going to be doing this for that long. Realistically, we've got this Dragon one. And I think even by the time we get the next Dragon tournament during the Fusion, our champions will have improved enough that this will be 100%. If not, we might even be heading closer to stage 20. And really for us, the big difference here will be, what do we get during the Void weekend? So we've got 2x Voids coming up, and we're going to be summoning shards for that, and it really depends what we get. If we don't get anything impactful, and I'd be surprised, because we should realistically get a Void Epic for, we've got like 8 shards, I think, by the time we get there. And most Void Epics are actually pretty good for certain areas of the game. But let's just say we don't get anything. If we don't, we will be leveling up a Frozen Banshee to 6-star, and we'll be getting the masteries finished on Miscreated and Frozen Banshee. So at that point, we'll still have 4 60s full mastery. So we'll be a lot stronger, and we'll probably have to level up either Diabolist or War Maiden to 5-star as well. At the moment, we're going to hold back all of our food and not commit to any of those until we see what we get in the Void event. Actually, in Arena, I deliberately lost a load of fights today. I was just finding it so difficult in Gold 2 to find fights that I could even do. Even, to be honest, in Gold 1, it's pretty grim. I might actually purposely lose a load more fights until I get to the cusp of Silver 4 Gold 1 and just straddle that line. It's just, I just don't have the time to be able to be refreshing all the way throughout the day, trying to get fights to use my tokens. I just feel like I'm wasting time and resources where I'm constantly refreshing and just finding fights that I just can't win. And it's not fun. And I know it's not as efficient as if I was able to get all the way, to Gold 4, Gold 5 and get the easy wins and get the massive amounts of tokens, etc. But life's too short, to be honest. Let's see if we got any good. That isn't great, but I'll keep it for the time being anyway. Likewise, that's not great, but I'm not going to sell it yet. Ancient Shard's nice, and 50 gems, pretty good. Yeah, what ultimately made me make the decision that I needed to drop down in Arena is I wasn't even able to get a top 8 finish. I just couldn't find fights. I was just struggling that much to find fights that I could win. And I was refreshing a lot over the weekend, and I still couldn't get myself, into like Gold 3, 4, etc. And I just decided, I don't have that much time during the week, and I can't be refreshing Arena all the day whilst I'm at work. It's just not an efficient use of my time, even though it's not the most efficient use of the resource in game. I have to factor in my own time as well. I can't play like 12 hours a day. That's just not going to happen. Otherwise, on that Spider tournament, I did get the Epic Tome. Unfortunately, did finish 3rd, which isn't really that good. Second would have been better. I know some people put in less points than this and managed to win their bracket. I wasn't that fortunate, but an Ancient Shard is still pretty good. I doubt the Relentless will be up to much. Right then, the last thing that I want to show in this video, because it's already getting pretty long, is let's jump in and we'll see what we do. So I tend to drop defense, then try and stun with Miscreated. I'll try and get the sleep off with Jamasa, and then I'll look for a lockout on Rhonda. Then basically I just rotate back round, try and see who has the most turn meter, kill the threat first, go for another sleep if we can. A bit more damage there, and then be able to kill someone. Turn meter, let's kill there. Next most turn meter. Potentially get another sleep. We didn't, but I think we'll be able to kill her before she takes a turn. Go get stunned there. And like you can see, it's just about really just managing the fight. And it's kind of dependent on, do we get good RNG with the initial stun? I did have a suboptimal speed tune previously where Jamasa was faster than Miscreated, which was causing problems, and I've actually slowed Jamasa down, and it's definitely more consistent since I did that. Now let's see if we can get some stuns. Not so much, and I think we've actually got a chance with the A3 just to clear them away. Does mean we're slightly disadvantaged here, as we haven't managed to rotate back round. That might actually cost me that little bit of impatience. So what I'm going to do is try and get the stun, which I don't. I will go for the lockout, and then I'll try and get the sleep, and I didn't. So this might be a fail, but we'll see. Protect ourselves. Then we'll get the revive. Now we can drop the defense. Right, and kill. Get the stun away. Nothing stunned, unfortunately. Look out for these damage dealers that we've got here. Try and get the sleep off. Failed. Quite frustrating. Go for AoE damage. Again. Ally attack. I think we'll end up winning, but yeah, you can see just that little bit of impatience basically made our lives a lot harder than it needed to be. But we still managed to get it done, and that means I'm on to floor 70 Nether Spider. And that, I think, if there's time tomorrow, will be where I want to pick the video up, because I do have an idea on how I might get past Nether, but it's definitely not guaranteed. It might not work, and if it doesn't, then I have absolutely no hope in getting past. So I basically clutched my way past the first iteration of Nether. I do not have the champions to do it if this one little strategy doesn't work. Anyway, this has been a long video now, so as always, thanks for watching. I do really appreciate people who are watching this series and watching the length of video that I tend to put out. I hope you're getting some enjoyment out of it and picking up some ideas and some tips. I try and make sure that I'm not just showing the progress, but also try and talk through my thought process and my strategy in terms of what I'm doing and how I'm approaching it. So yeah, as always, please like, comment, subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next video. Bye for now.